Why don't polar bears like fast food? Because they can't catch it. Welcome, folks, to a world of ice, snow, and the undisputed kings of the Arctic, the polar bears. Now, when we say king, we aren't just throwing around empty titles. You see, polar bears aren't just the adorable, fluffy creatures you see in cartoons. They are, in fact, the largest carnivores that walk the land. Yes, you heard it right. These frosty giants, with their white fur and powerful paws, are at the top of the food chain in one of the harshest environments on Earth. How about that for a crazy fact? And it's just the tip of the iceberg, or should we say, the snow mound. So buckle up, because we're about to dive deeper into the icy world of these majestic beasts. But don't worry, you won't find one at your local burger joint. Ever heard of a bear that can swim for days? No? Well, meet the polar bear. Now I know what you're thinking. Bears are land animals. But these frosty fellas have a trick up their fur. They're like the endurance athletes of the animal kingdom, able to swim continuously for days at a time. That's right. Days. Imagine this. You're at the Olympics, cheering for your favorite swimmer, and then a polar bear hops into the pool. It's not just doggy paddling, oh no, it's cruising through the water like it was born there. It's splashing and gliding, and before you know it, it's snagged all the gold medals. Now, I'm not saying we should start recruiting polar bears for the next swimming team. But hey, if they ever decide to participate, they'd certainly give our human athletes a run for their money. Or should I say, a swim for their money. Michael Phelps, you've got some competition. What's black and white and rayed all over? A sunburned polar bear. Now hold on to your hats for this one. Our third crazy fact about polar bears is a real head-turner. You know that iconic white coat that polar bears sport like they're strutting down a runway in the Arctic? Well, it's not actually white. That's right. Their fur is transparent and it only appears white because it reflects light. Talk about being a trendsetter. It's like they're wearing a million tiny mirrors, reflecting the world back at us. Imagine if we humans could do that. No need for fashion police or worrying about wearing the same outfit twice. And here's a fun side note. Under that not-so-white fur, a polar bear's skin is black, helping them soak up and retain heat from the sun. Now that's what I call a fashionably practical solution to the cold. So, when it comes to fashion, take a leaf out of the polar bear's book. What do polar bears and detectives have in common? They can both sniff out the truth. Yes, that's right. Our fourth crazy fact about polar bears is their incredibly powerful sense of smell. It's so strong that they could probably find a needle in a haystack, or a seal under 3 feet of ice. Imagine that. This isn't just a wild guess, mind you. Science backs it up. Polar bears can smell their prey from a whopping 20 miles away. That's like smelling a pizza from the other side of a large city. Now that's a superpower I'd like to have. But it's not all about food. This keen sense of smell also helps polar bears find mates during the breeding season. Talk about a natural dating app. So if you ever lose your car keys in the Arctic, you know who to call. Just make sure to reward them with a seal, not a pizza. Why did the polar bear break up with his girlfriend? She had cold feet. Now, speaking of cold feet, let's slide into our fifth crazy fact about polar bears. These Arctic giants have a real grip when it comes to icy terrains. You see, their paws are not just adorable, they're also perfectly engineered to grip slippery ice. I mean, can you imagine how good they'd be at ice skating? Each polar bear paw is like a built-in ice skate equipped with small bumps on the pads for extra traction and covered in fur for insulation. They're the Tony Hawk of the ice world, only instead of skateboards, they've got these rad natural ice grippers. They could probably pull off a triple axel jump without breaking a sweat, or, well, without breaking an icicle. So, if you're planning an ice skating trip, invite a polar bear. Just don't let them drive the Zamboni. Why don't polar bears eat penguins? Because they can't get the wrappers off. Just kidding, of course. In reality, polar bears are the kings and queens of the seafood diet. They primarily feast on seals, which are a rich source of fat and protein. But they aren't too picky. If a seal isn't available, they'll settle for fish, birds, and even the occasional piece of vegetation. Now imagine a polar bear in a sushi restaurant. He'd probably order the seal special, followed by a side of salmon sashimi. And for dessert? Perhaps a nice kelp salad. It's a tough life at the top of the food chain, but someone's got to do it. Of course, the polar bear's love for seals isn't exactly good news for the seals themselves. They've got to keep their eyes peeled and their swimming skills sharp to avoid becoming dinner. So if you're a seal, consider this your public service announcement. Why don't polar bears hibernate? Because they'd miss all the good TV shows. Okay, maybe that's not exactly the reason, but it's a fun thought, isn't it? You see, unlike their bear cousins who cozy up in a den for the winter, polar bears stay active all year round. They're the ultimate insomniacs of the animal kingdom, and quite frankly, they're too busy hunting and surviving to take a long winter's nap. Polar bears are built for the cold, their thick fur and layer of blubber keeping them toasty even in the harshest of Arctic winters. So while other animals are hibernating, polar bears are out and about, making the most of the icy conditions. Imagine this: a polar bear, sprawled out on an ice floe, remote in paw, flicking through snow-filled episodes of planet Earth. It's a ridiculous image, right? But hey, who knows? So, next time you're binge-watching your favorite series, remember, somewhere out there, a polar bear might be doing the same? Why do polar bears never get lost? Because they always keep their bearings. Now, let's dive into our 8th crazy fact about these magnificent creatures. Polar bears are the ultimate globetrotters of the animal kingdom, traveling thousands of miles in a year. Imagine this: you're a polar bear. Your home is the vast white expanse of the Arctic. You have no GPS, no compass, no road signs, but you always find your way. It's as if these bears have an internal map etched in their minds, guiding them across the frigid landscape. And it's not just a casual stroll either. They're on a mission, moving from one feeding area to another, searching for mates, or simply exploring their icy domain. With such impressive navigational skills, they'd make fantastic tour guides. Well, if they weren't so busy being polar bears, of course. So if you're lost in the Arctic, look for a polar bear. They'll know the way. Why don't polar bears get cold? Because they've got a thick skin. Here's our 9th crazy fact about polar bears. They are the ultimate winter-ready creatures. Beneath their fashionable white fur, polar bears sport a skin as black as midnight. It helps them soak up and hold on to the sun's heat. But that's not all. They also have a layer of blubber that can be up to 4 inches thick. Now, that's what I call a natural winter coat. No wonder they can withstand the frosty conditions of the Arctic. This blubber layer not only keeps them warm, but also provides energy when food is scarce. Imagine if we humans had such a layer. We could laze around all winter, sipping hot cocoa, and never worry about the cold again. But alas, we'll have to stick with our down jackets and woolen scarves. So, next time you're feeling chilly, just remember, you could be a polar bear. Why don't polar bears like global warming jokes? Because they're not cool. And speaking of not cool, it's time to touch on a serious matter. Our 10th crazy fact about polar bears is that they're seriously threatened by climate change. As the ice caps melt, polar bears are losing their icy hunting grounds, making it harder for them to catch their favorite meals. It's a chilling reality for these Arctic residents, who are seeing their world change right beneath their furry feet. Now imagine this: a polar bear protest march. Picture thousands of polar bears, placards in paws, marching on all fours, demanding colder temperatures and more seals. It might sound funny, but the underlying issue is no laughing matter. While we can't promise polar bears will actually start protesting, we can certainly help them by doing our part to combat climate change. So, let's do our part to keep the ice caps cold and the polar bear jokes hot. Well, that's the end of our polar expedition. We've dipped our toes into the icy waters of polar bear trivia and found out some pretty cool stuff. From their chilly beginnings to their icy swimming skills, we've discovered that these creatures are much more than just adorable fluffballs. Their fashionable white coats aren't just for show, they're actually a clever disguise to help them hunt. And who knew that their amazing sense of smell could give a bloodhound a run for its money? We've also learned about their diverse diet, their hibernation habits, and their incredible resilience in the face of harsh climates. And let's not forget about the end of the Ice Age, a testament to their adaptability and survival skills. So, go ahead, share these crazy facts with your friends and make their day a little more bearable. And if you haven't done so yet, hit that subscribe button for more Wild Wonders. Remember, stay cool and keep laughing, just like a polar bear.